Straight ahead on CCX News, knockdown day for a Brooklyn Center movie theater. Plus, why designing future boarding stations for LRT could come down to input from millennials. But first, a closer look at the opioid addiction crisis and why some solutions may rest with local companies. CCX News starts right now. Hello everyone, and thanks for joining us. Today, local medical device companies join forces with local lawmakers to tackle the opioid addiction crisis.
Companies like Maple Grove's largest employer, Boston Scientific, and Plymouth-based Smith's Medical were part of a roundtable held in St. Paul to address the crisis. We get more now from Eric Nelson.
Yeah, Alex and Mike, opioid addiction is not only a national epidemic, but a local one too. In 2016, there were 153 opioid-related deaths in Hennepin County, a record for 1 year. Now, many believe that doctors prescribe opioids to patients, and then it becomes a gateway to heroin use. The focus of today's roundtable, hosted by Golden Valley Trade Group Medical Alley Association, was to bring up new alternatives that do not involve using prescription opioids for pain treatment. Senator Chris Eaton of Brooklyn Center says there is data proving that opioids do not work for chronic pain, but pharmaceutical companies are encouraging doctors to recommend opioids.
They were told it was safe, and so we went through the 1 through 10 pain scale that everybody should be pain-free or they should get a narcotic, and I think that's what caused this whole crisis.
Opioids are not cheap, even though they may look like it at first glance. And some of them, honestly, are expensive right at first glance. Sometimes they're over $1,000 a month just for the medication. But so some of these other procedures we're talking about have been shown to, even though they may have a bigger upfront cost, pay for themselves within 2 years.
At the roundtable, the medical community wanted to shine the spotlight on other options for pain relief and treatment to curb opioid addiction. Acupuncture, pain medicine pumps, spinal cord stimulators, and medical marijuana are some alternatives, but it's important to note there's no one therapy that works for the majority of pain patients. Meanwhile, Senator Eaton hopes there will be additional funding for treatment and wants the pharmaceutical industry to pay for it.
I think they have a responsibility. I think they have a moral responsibility to help people recover from this addiction that has become out of control.
Now, today's summit is the first of a series of roundtable meetings hosted by Medical Alley. Medical Alley says Minnesota is uniquely positioned to be a trailblazer in the opioid crisis because of the high number of medical companies in the state. Alex and Mike?
All right, Eric, thank you very much. A Brooklyn Park man was scheduled to make his first court appearance today on charges of second-degree murder in the death of his roommate. According to the criminal complaint, James Thompson is accused of killing his roommate last week at the Huntington Place Apartments. It happened after a dispute over a cell phone. The complaint says Thompson told a friend that his phone had been acting funny and thought his roommate was hacking it. It led to a fight involving a knife. The roommate was later found dead, but only after Thompson called police 3 days after the incident requesting a welfare check on his roommate. Well, news of the mass shootings in Las Vegas prompted more phone calls and social media traffic from people wanting to help but not knowing how.
Memorial Blood Center says it has had an increase in the number of calls, but so far it hasn't had a request for blood from the Las Vegas area. However, the nonprofit is reminding potential donors that every day is a good day to donate so that they are prepared when a tragedy strikes.
The blood that's on the shelf today helps out in a tragedy tomorrow, whether that tragedy be a natural disaster like a hurricane or like the tragedy that happened in Las Vegas recently. The blood that's on the shelf will help in an accident tomorrow.
More than a year ago, Memorial Blood Centers did get a request and did send blood to the Orlando area after the Pulse nightclub shooting. You can sign up to donate either at the Blood Center or a blood drive by going to mbc.org.
Well, Robbinsdale City Council members got some insight on light rail issues at a recent meeting in Denver. That includes how to figure out the right size parking garage and create an area around the station where LRT riders can bike and walk to the train. Well, Councilmember Bill Blonigan says It's about appealing to what the millennial generation wants.
We're kind of attuned accidentally to what these new generations want. They don't want as big a lot. They don't want the complication of driving in from way out. They might want only one vehicle, a couple, instead of having two vehicles. And if you live by an LRT station, you can do that.
And while in Denver, the group saw how an alley can be upgraded to encourage walking. And one Denver LRT station shows how that city incorporated green space and included as much activity as possible close to the station. In Robbinsdale, Blonigan says getting the size of the parking area right is vitally important. It's about managing who can park there and when.
With scanning devices and tricks that they use that are very scientific, making it so that only people that are riding the rails are using that parking at the high demand times. Then later at night, when there's not high demand ridership, you can share with the bars and restaurants and shops in downtown Robbinsdale when they are more full.
He says experts at the conference supported the idea of a smaller parking ramp, which is something Robbinsdale officials had pushed for there. Meanwhile, officials from several cities will board a bus on Wednesday for a tour of suburban transit-related development projects in the Twin Cities.
You could call it open-air seating at the former Regal Cinemas movie theater in Brooklyn Center. Demolition crews started doing their work today on Monday, tearing down the theater to make way for TopGolf. City officials say the company is working quickly. The theater is expected to be gone by the end of the week. Almost immediately, work crews will start pouring the foundation and the footings. They hope to have that work finished by the end of the month. TopGolf is expected to open next fall. It will become an entertainment complex with an all-season golf center, restaurant, and bar. It could employ up to 500 workers.
Bow hunters will be out in force this week at several park areas in Brooklyn Park to help control the deer population. Brooklyn Park has held controlled deer hunts since 2011, and since their start, the city says there has been a noticeable reduction in deer-related car accidents. The areas for the hunt include Northwoods Park, Rush Creek Regional Trail, the Environmental Nature Area, Banfield Island, Coon Rapids Dam Regional Park, and the Palmer Lake Nature Area. Parks will remain open to the public, but park users need to remain on all formal trails and maintained areas while the hunts take place. Still ahead on CCX News, why Brooklyn Park manufacturers will be getting some extra attention this week.
Plus, who would fly higher, the Armstrong Falcons or the Cooper Hawks? Highlights from the prep football game featuring these district rivals.
But first, lingering showers on Tuesday, and we dry out on Wednesday. This week is Minnesota Manufacturing Week, calling attention to the 318,000 jobs and the $48 billion the industry contributes to the state's economy.
In Business Matters, Brooklyn Park is also focused on its manufacturers as it brings its business community together this week for a special forum. Brooklyn Park's manufacturing community is about to get the spotlight.
We find that people are really interested in seeing what's produced in Brooklyn Park and what kind of impact it has on the community.
Companies such as Star Exhibits, Olympus, Diversified Plastics, and Design Ready Controls are just a few of the more than 150 manufacturing-based businesses in Brooklyn Park, employing 20% of the city's workforce.
So Built in Brooklyn Park is our opportunity to kind of turn them inside out, these businesses, and show people all of the amazing products that they make, all of the industries that they're working for.
The city will unveil its Built in Brooklyn Park ad campaign and new website this week when Brooklyn Park businesses gather for the annual Business Forward Forum.
The forum is just one more way to connect the businesses to us, to connect them to each other, and to plug them into the information that they're looking for.
In addition to highlighting the manufacturing community, Brooklyn Park is also calling attention to its revamped Business Forward app.
So it's really dynamic and they can pack a ton of information into this platform. It's much more visual.
The interactive and user-friendly site maps every single Brooklyn Park business from restaurants to manufacturers. It's a tool the city hopes is helpful to residents, businesses, and those exploring a move to the city.
We still have 1,100 acres of undeveloped land, and we have a lot of opportunities for redevelopment here in the city as well.
Brooklyn Park's Business Forward Forum is this Thursday starting at 11 a.m. at Edinburgh, USA. We will have a link set up at ccxmedia.org for more information about registering for the event.
If you are interested in learning CPR, there are a few spots left for training at the Plymouth Public Safety Building. Besides learning CPR, those registered learn how to use an automated external defibrillator. The next training session is Wednesday from 7 to 8 p.m. It is open to teens and adults, and in order to register, you just visit heartsafeplymouth.eventbrite.com. There is one more training session after this one, and it takes place the evening of Wednesday, October 18th. Still ahead, a Crystal Boy learns a little business strategy at a citywide garage sale.
But first, Providence Academy and Park Center both host tough foes for homecoming. John Jacobson has the highlights from those games coming up next in sports.
I'm John Jacobson with sports. Cooper and Armstrong came into their football game with a combined 7-1 record. Unbeaten Cooper has climbed to number 4 in the state Class 5A rankings. The big crowd was on hand for homecoming at Cooper, and after a scoreless first quarter, Cooper strikes big. Cameron King throws deep. Phoenix Scrolls gets behind the defender and Sproles in for a 41-yard touchdown, and it's 6-0 Hawks. Both defenses excel in the first half. King's pass intercepted by Armstrong's Mekhi Bessick. And that sets up a touchdown for the Falcons. Jake Breitbach rolls left on a 4th down play and hits fullback Nate Bertula in the end zone. Matthew Jager's extra point gives Armstrong a 7-6 lead at halftime. But Cooper controls play in the second half. They get their running game going. Ante Burns is a big hole to run through. Burns played a great game for Cooper. He goes for the score here, and it's 12-7 Hawks. More of the same late in the game. Burns cuts left and scores another touchdown, and he'll seal the deal with his second interception of the night late in the game. Cooper improves to 5-0, and they win it over Armstrong 20-7. The Park Center football team carried a 2-2 record into their Week 5 matchup against the talented Irondale team. Pirates celebrating homecoming against the Knights. Irondale gets on the board early. Brendan White to Aiden Price, 2 yards for a touchdown. 7-0 Irondale 3 minutes into the game. Second quarter, Irondale in the red zone again. Parker Freiberg will take the handoff. He carries it 3 yards in for a score. The Knights lead at 21-0. Park Center does get on the board on their next drive. Jamel Brown throws to Levante Parker. 10 yards for a touchdown. The Pirates cut the Irondale lead to 21-7. Final minute of the first half, and Brown finds Parker again, but Irondale's Ronnie Trask strips the ball away, and Arias Sirius scoops it up. He'll run it in from 18 yards out for a defensive touchdown. Knights lead 28-7. They go on to win 35-13, and Irondale is now 4-1. Providence Academy carried a 3-game winning streak into their big Twin City Gold sub-district game. The Lions celebrated homecoming as well, facing Mound-Westonka. Providence gets on the board. Justin Mason with the pass to Julian Caven, open for the grab, and the Lions go up 7-0. After a Mound-Westonka field goal, they'll score again. Brandon Hokanen, great protection, throws a strike to Sam Dufault, and the Whitehawks take a 10-7 lead into halftime. Providence retakes the lead in the third quarter. Jeff Ekior bounces off a tackler and keeps his leg driving to the end zone. He scores, and it's 14-10 Lions. Mound answers back. The defensive back misses here, and Hokanen's pass gets to Evan Dahl, and he's off to the races. It's a 66-yard play, and the Whitehawks are in front 17-14 midway through the third. Fourth quarter, they'll add an insurance touchdown. Hokanen threads it to Thomas Elliott, who makes the grab for the score, and Mound-Westonka wins this one 24-14. Kelsie and Tyler Sealock are both key players for their Osseo High School varsity teams. Kelsie in volleyball, Tyler in football. Jason Malillo profiles the brother and sister on this week's Sports Jam show. Here's a clip from that story.
Tyler Sealock is a cornerback, wide receiver, kick returner, and captain for the Osseo football team. His younger sister Kelsie is a jack of all trades for the Osseo volleyball team and also a captain. They come from a very competitive family, and it shows in the way they approach athletics.
We grew up very competitive as a family and for each other. For one of my, so I have 4 brothers, and so we all are competitive and we motivate each other.
Tyler says he learned a lot from older brothers Grant and Bryce, and they instilled in him a pride for Osseo football.
Definitely like their 2 years. The program was very high. They both teams did very well, and like the student section, the school had a lot of Osseo spirit, which that's why I try to bring to our school again.
You can see the rest of that story and more this week on Sports Jam. It airs through Wednesday at 3:30, 6:30, and 9:30 p.m. here on CCX. That's all for sports. Alex and Mike, back to you.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, John. Well, coming up next, business lessons learned at a Crystal garage sale.
What these possible future entrepreneurs came back with when we come back.
Now, finally, turning the page in childhood and getting a valuable lesson for the future.
10-year-old Tommy Gurmar missed his soccer game on Saturday morning. He did it to take part in the annual Crystal Kids Garage Sale. It was a good business move and also an important learning opportunity. Tommy had to arrange all his toys, books, and clothes he no longer uses, price them, then put his bargaining skills to work. He is thankful that the city of Crystal hosted something like this.
I think it's cool that they made us be able to do all of this because so we can make money.
He's learning a good lesson with making change and doing business, and his idea was to, with the promotion, was to buy 3 get 1 free. So also a little marketing there for him as well.
Way to go, Tommy. Tommy told us he is thinking ahead. He's going to save some of his proceeds for college, though he did admit some of it may have to go to high school.
Yeah, he'll spend some money during high school.
Plenty of things to buy in high school, right?
But he's off to a good start.
Yeah, way to go, Tommy. That is all the news for us. Thanks so much for joining us.
And we'll see you back here again Tuesday, starting at 4.